Hello guys, today I'm going to show you how to create a glass material in Cinema 4D with Redshift. We will talk about most common mistakes beginners make. Also, I will share one secret formula, and there is a bonus waiting for you at the end of video. By the way, if you watch my previous video, you probably noticed that I changed location, and I'm currently in Da Nang, Vietnam. So, let me show you how it looks outside. Here is a cozy little street, and I broke it. But here, stroika, every day. But it's okay. Over there is my motorbike. I ride every day. Alright, let's go into the lesson. Alright, let's start by going over the most common mistakes beginners make when creating glass materials, especially for UI or Microsoft style renders. Here is the first example. As you can see, the material looks flat and unfinished. It's basically just default glass. None of the key settings have been touched. One crucial thing to keep in mind is bevels. Even a small bevel can make a huge difference. Without it, everything looks too sharp and artificial. Now, the most important thing, lighting. In this scene, it looks like there is just one HDRI and that's it. Sure, there are a couple of highlights, but it's not enough to make the image pop or feel rich. In the second example, we see the same issue. Lighting is very basic, just one or two sources, and there are no accent areas or depth. In this tutorial, I'll walk you through all these points so you can avoid these beginner mistakes and start creating bold, polished renders. Before we jump in, feel free to follow me on Instagram or subscribe here on YouTube so you don't miss future breakdowns. Alright, let's go. Okay, let's start. First, I create a plane. This will be our background. Then I add a camera, position it as needed, and adjust the scale of the background plane accordingly. Next, I open up my Fluent pack that I made to speed up the workflow. I select a few icons for the scene. Let's go with these ones and add them in. After that, I align the icons to within the frame and arrange them to look more balanced compositionally. Now I select all the icons and press Alt+G. This groups them under a new null object. I rename the null to icons, move it slightly back and scale the plane up a bit. Then I create our main object, a central element called flower, and extrude it slightly. I position it in the center and fine-tune the composition around it, duplicating some of the icons as needed. On the flower object, I add subtle bevels to smooth out the extrusion. This helps the shape feel more polished. Now let's set up the basic lighting. I add two light sources, one from the top and a bit larger, and one from below, slightly smaller to support the overall look. I group both lights with the camera using Alt+G, place them under a new null called light, and moved it now down in the object hierarchy. I always keep lights, cameras, and key elements like this grouped at the bottom of the outliner so they're easy to access. Next, I slightly lower the intensity of the lights and preview the result. Right now the icons are using placeholder materials from my base pack, but we are going to remove those and build new material from scratch, starting with the glass. So I create a new material and assign it to several objects. Then I open the material settings and increase the render resolution to... I also increase the focal length of the camera and pull it back slightly to get a better view. Inside the material, the first thing I do is enable transmission. This is the key setting that gives us the glass look. We can also tint the glass slightly. In this case, I will go with the soft blue. There is also a depth parameter here, but I usually leave it untouched. Now let's add a gradient. I press Shift plus C to open the search bar, type ramp, and plug it into the transmission color. I pick a blue gradient that fits the style. Next we adjust the roughness. There is no single correct value, it really depends on the scene. I often use pre-made materials or tweak values individually for each project. Roughness and reflection settings are highly situational. If you are going for a realistic look, you might want to follow physically accurate values like IOR and preset transmission levels, which are available in official guidelines. But in this case, realism is not the goal. We are going for something stylized, impressive, and vibrant. Now let's head to the render settings and enable caustics to see how it affects the glass. Sometimes caustics create more dramatic shadows, but it depends. I only keep it on if it makes the scene look better. Now let's move on the background material. I simply add another ramp using Shift plus C. Pick a color I like. And apply it to the background. Finally, I tweak the temperature to the lighting slightly, increase the light strength, and adjust the intensity in the light source settings to finalize the mood. Next, I duplicate our glass material and assign it to the rest of the objects into the scene. Let's see how that looks. Now let's tweak the material a bit. I enable code and set roughness to 0. Then I adjust the IOR slightly and change the color of the gradient to get a different vibe. I'll also reposition this icon. I don't like how it's placed right now. I add a little roughness, and to make the reflections more interesting, I'll plug in some noise into the roughness map. So let's do it. I add a ramp, connect a noise texture to it, and tweak the settings. This instantly gives the material more character and visual depth. It no longer looks flat or boring, and I loved it. I highly recommend this trick for many different materials. Just look at how much more dynamic the image become. It feels richer and more vibrant. Now let's create a material for these panel elements. I duplicate the first material, make a few adjustments to better match the scene. Now let me share something important. Here is one of my go-to techniques for adding contrast and making my scenes pop: accent lighting. I often use small but strong light sources to create sharp reflections and highlights like the one you see here. Let's add another accent light over here. See how it instantly makes the scene look more polished? Just find the right placement and it really transforms the look. Let's continue refining the lighting. I add a large light source behind the scene. This could also be an HDRI map, but in this case I'm using a texture area light. I plug in the texture, position the light behind the objects, and fine-tune the setup so it blends nicely with the rest of the scene. Now we can come back and tweak the materials, again based on the updated lighting. Then I duplicate that light and move it to the front to create a soft reflection on our main object. I want this light to affect only that object, that main object, so I go to the project tab, enable include, and add the object to the list. So keep in mind, this kind of setup with the big area lights or texture HDRIs works best for still renders, not necessarily for animation. But if you don't want to use HDRIs or texture lights, here is another way to make things pop. Add noise directly to the color of your material. It works surprisingly well and adds extra richness to the result. I connect a noise to the ramp and start playing with the colors. And look at that, it looks amazing. So now you know two different ways to make your glass material look more dynamic, either through color gradients or through texture-driven roughness and reflection. And here is the final result. And now a little bonus for those of you who made it to the end of this video. I'm giving away 6 free Fluent Microsoft style materials that I personally use in my project. You will find the download link below. Also, if you want more, I've packaged all the materials from my Fluent pack. That's 35 plus professional materials available now on Gumroad, Patreon or Boosty. That's it for today, so thanks so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. I post exclusive promo codes, free mini tutorials, and useful tips for Microsoft style, motion graphics and design. See you in the next one, and take care.